Hi everyone, welcome to Kitabi Cabins. मेरा नाम बानी है, and in this video, I actually want to share my cheat sheet of Jane Austen's works with you. So if you're someone who's interested and wants to pick up Jane Austen, I think this is a cheat sheet that will actually help you. Now, Jane Austen is pretty famous as someone who wrote beautiful romance novels. But I think if you look at her from my perspective, she went way beyond that and she spoke about a lot of things that were more than romance: relationships, family, power, love, friendship, money, and a lot more than that. So eventually, the novel was just not about romance. It was a beautiful comedy, a satirical take on us as society. Jane Austen actually wrote in the 18th century, but even in 2022, her commentary on society is very, very much relevant. आपको बस उनके साथ थोड़ी सी patience रखनी पड़ेगी. Even though you might have to go and check the dictionary every few pages, but वो सिर्फ starting में होगा, and then slowly you will get the grind of it. Now there are 6 major books that you must read in order to enjoy Jane Austen. First of all, Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice की इतनी ज़्यादा adaptations आ चुकी हैं that at this point you can read the book and enjoy an adaptation side by side. My favorite adaptation is the 2005 Pride and Prejudice that stars Keira Knightley and, of course, Tom Gams from Succession. But Pride and Prejudice actually follows Elizabeth Bennet, who must and who is being forced by the society and her family to pick up a groom. And a lot of the themes in most of these books will be about a woman trying to find somebody she can marry, a potential partner who's rich enough, who's good enough, whose mannerisms are great. And Pride and Prejudice also introduced us to Mr. Darcy, who single-handedly ruined our love lives. You'll realize it once you read it. You'll realize why. Nonetheless, there is another book, Sense and Sensibility, which follows two sisters, and both of them must find a potential groom because their father is dead and their property is being sold off. Sense and Sensibility is used to personify either of the two sisters. Kafi interesting take hai. It kind of gets a little boring, so I do think you can skip this one because it actually doesn't interest a lot of people unless and until you understand the politics of it. Why is it so important for the sisters to marry? Because in those times, you actually needed a male heir. So if your father passes away, you actually need somebody to whom the property will pass on, and that has to be a male person. So it could be your sibling who is male, and if you did not have a male sibling, it would be the nearest male member of the family. The next novel that I want to talk about is Emma. So if you've seen Sonam Kapoor's Aisha, it was loosely based on Emma. If you've read Emma, you would be very, very excited to watch Aisha. But if you've read Emma, you would also come back crying because you would be disappointed in what is being portrayed to be Emma. But nonetheless, Emma is actually about the beauty of misconceptions in love. It talks beautifully about sometimes how we're so excited to patch people up, how we're so excited to connect people, and how matchmaking actually can be a beautiful plot for a romance novel. But Emma manages to beautifully portray what immature relationships look like and how, if you just give them the exact and right fodder, they could actually make for something that's absolutely adorable. The next book that I want to talk to you about is Mansfield Park. Now, Mansfield Park actually follows a girl who is shy. So in the first few chapters, you might not even notice her. You might not notice our protagonist, but it actually follows her as she goes on to live with her uncle who stays in Mansfield Park. And it's actually very funny because most of the couples that you'll see wooing each other, most of the couples you'll see trying to fall in love with each other or be with each other are not meant to be together. It's such a comedy of errors that it'll trick you into thinking if it's actually something you should be looking forward to or perhaps not. Nonetheless, it's a beautiful take on society and our need for relationships. The next book that I want to talk about is Persuasion. Now, Persuasion talks about second chances. The path to settling down is full of bumps and hurdles, and there are times when you get to correct those mistakes. And Persuasion is about that. The last book that I want to talk about is one of my favorite books, Northanger Abbey. This one is a take on Gothic horror. In fact, our heroine, our protagonist, for some time believes that she is starring in one Gothic horror. So much so that there is a list of certain items and she believes it's a ritual for black magic or something. But what's brilliant about this book is that I think it beautifully shows what Jane Austen was capable of and how she was no less than the other authors who were being published at the time. And those happen to be most men. Why Jane Austen's heroines are so important is because despite everything, despite how outdated the books might seem to you, the heroines and their problems are still very, very relevant. So if you're someone who wants to get into classics, I think you must definitely pick up Northanger Abbey, especially if you want to unleash the full potential of Jane Austen, according to me. So these were my 6 recommendations. I hope you liked them. Let me know if you want more recommendations, more cheat sheets for authors, and I'll be back with those. And do subscribe to Kitabi Cabins. We talk about books and we try to go in depth about them. And I hope you like this recommendation, and I'll be back with another recommendations in the next video.